I downloaded this app today called it gives you random facts.
I thought that was just like something you find in your day-to-day life, like what kind of museums you're going to visit to, right? Says here all the people. Right, fair play to him, I suppose, dude.
I mean, he invented it and he wanted to die as he lived as a frisbee.
How long ago do you think that was, though, man? Frisbees must have been around for a while, I reckon.
Yeah, I didn't look that up.
No. I just think it's pretty forward thinking that, because like back in the day, it would have been basically like burn the body in case of like plague or just bury it really deep or whatever. And even only nowadays I see people like they'll do cremations and then put you in their tooth or do something random like that.
I mean, the only thing with that is you have to make sure that frisbee stays in the family, and it's like and it can't be like it can't be one of those frisbees that like goes into the attic and you forget about it, goes into the car boot cell.
Car boot system, and all of a sudden the dog's chewing on the life.
It's sold through, and then everyone's like, "Where's Granddad?"
I'll be like, nah, I don't. I'll be like, where's he gone?
Yeah, but nah, it's cool. He's a frisbee. He'll come back.
He's there with spot somewhere in somebody else's house and like being worked off as a tree toy or something like that, bro. What other things did this crazy thing pop up?
The next one is there are more chickens in America than there are people on the planet. I thought that was like.
Is that a good thing or a bad thing?
I'm not sure.
I don't know.
Maybe it's because
there's 8 billion chickens in America then.
Apparently so.
That's mad, bro. That's mad. I will perpetuate a very negative stereotype. I'm going to tell you all I'm a vegan without anyone asking. And I'm going to say, there's how many chickens there are, bro. Imagine if we all just let them loose. What we do, imagine all the chickens just have to go loose. Because a lot of my vegan mates like just stop killing them immediately. Let them all go free. Well, now, don't get me wrong, I'd definitely be happy if that happened, but imagine 8 billion chickens on the loose.
In America.
8 billion chickens in America on the loose, let out of hands, let out of cages. And don't get me wrong, I'm still saying, all my vegan mates, don't get pissed off with me, I'm still advocating to stop eating chickens and stop having factory farms. But imagine 8 billion, these bloody buggers flying about with Americans and guns shooting them out of there. It'll be a whole new thing instead of clay pigeon shooting. It'll be American shooting escaped caged hens. And stuff like that, bro. That'd be mad.
That'd be crazy.
Some people love it. Yeah. People love it. Imagine the barbecues will be going about as well, man.
Yeah.
Be fried chicken everywhere. Everywhere, bro.
Yeah, man. Don't make me hungry.
Okay, alright.
And the final one, which is the craziest one that I think of ever, right? The fingerprint of a koala bear is virtually indistinguishable from those of humans. So much so that they could be easily confused for you as at a crime scene. That's crazy, right?
That's crazy. Koala bears' fingerprints, man. How did they figure that out? Did one of them commit a crime and they took them in and they said, geez.
It's the same as a human.
They're like, hey, man, that looks like a human's fingerprint there.
That's crazy.
I heard they also have chlamydia, apparently.
Oh.
Koala bears, yeah. They apparently got, some of them carry chlamydia. Apparently, Maybe that's because they got human fingers. You never know how they caught it, right? You know what I mean? I don't know how those koala bears caught chlamydia. What kind of cheetahs they've been busy with down here in Australia, bro. But
yeah, those are my random facts, and I'll give you a little interview now if you're game.
Game for that for sure.
So, this book that you gave me is called My Dark Stone Out.
Shown Out.
Oh, Shown Out, sorry.
Shown Out, no worries.
I'm dyslexic.
It's all good, brother.
Where did the title come from?
So the title of that book was basically, the content of that was largely stuff which I never wanted to release before in my music and that, because I thought it was either too dark, and there was also a lot of stuff that just didn't fit and didn't make much sense. But because the majority of it I thought was quite dark, I just gave that title to the whole entire book. And to be quite honest with you, this was the first book of poetry I brought out. And I only brought it out because I was trying to think of other ways to monetize my writing. And because I was trying to think of other ways to monetize my writing. And so I brought that out. And then only when I started actually going to poetry nights, when I met you, when I started living in London over the past year and a half, and I actually started to go. Because I always went to open mics for my music and that, playing guitar, but only when I went to poetry nights that I started to actually experience poetry firsthand. And then I started reading poetry. I read some Maya Angelou. I got Lionheart's book the other day. Brilliant. And like a few things like that. And only when I really started reading poetry and going to poetry nights did I actually understand what I wanted to put out. So that book is literally a compilation of old songs And so now with the new book Trigger, the name gives it away. It's got some nice controversial topics in there, and that's
Interesting.
But that I think is going to be my first proper book of poetry. But that thing I'm still pretty damn proud of. It's got a lot of. It's good. It's good. Don't get me wrong, but it's good.
No, I'm interested to. I'm looking forward to reading it. Where can the people at home find this book if they wanted to purchase this themselves?
If you want to purchase the book yourself, if you're interested in some like political and philosophical kind of opinions you might like or not like, and also just some general good poetry, you can go Kindle and Kobo Books, also off my website rowraps.com.
Have you ever thought of doing like, I don't know if anyone's ever done this, but like an audio poetry book?
Not a bad idea. Not a bad idea.
Because like, as much I listen. It's only because I listen to audiobooks all the time. I find it easier than reading a book because I can actually get through a book. Yep. Like I can get through a whole book within a week.
I'm 100% agreement with you, dude. Yep.
I do feel a little bit lazy because I'm just having someone else read me the story, but someone else is telling me a story.
I don't think there's anything wrong with that, Corey. I think Harry and Edinburgh. It's at the end of the day, man. Back in the day, people had to when poetry that all first went around in large parts of the world, it was all verbal because people couldn't read and write. So that's how stories were passed. Then people learned to read and write, so you had to do books. And now we've got audiobooks again, all of a sudden. So now we've got other people, so we've come full circle. So like, it started off with people not reading and writing. And I myself personally, I like reading, but I struggle to read. And I really have to allocate a certain part of my day to be like, just get through 10 pages. Because there's stuff I want to know. But I can sit and watch documentaries whole day. You know what I mean? I can sit and listen to podcasts. I can listen to stuff on YouTube, and listening is so much easier to do than having, especially if you're a little bit hungover or whatever. It's fine. Instead of if you're reading something heavy, and some of the stuff, I'm reading a book right now about Islam, and a lot of it is very dry and like a lot of like fact-based kind of stuff and dates, and it gets a little bit long. And if it's going to be an audio book, it'll be a hell of a lot more interesting.
But yeah, that's it. I would love to hear an audio version of any poetry book that's out there, because that'd be dope, man. Imagine like it'd be like going to a poetry event, but like just hearing all their poems.
Have you ever have you met Rag CV and gone to
I had Rag CV on here not so long ago.
So you know his vibes. That's his new album, Soul Lyrical.
I'm gonna purchase it on Friday.
Dude, so that was his whole thinking was exactly what you just said, where he said instead of writing a book, he's gonna write a book and make an album.
Yeah.
And that's what Soul Lyrical is. So I watched the play last week Saturday.
Oh, how was it?
Good man. Yeah,
cool,
dude, pretty good. It wasn't what I was expecting. It had some deep stuff in there. It spoke about knife crime and beautiful singing. Beautiful singing and stuff in there. And what pretty well get put together, I must say, pretty well considering the time that he said he had to do with it. Packed, sold out, bro.
Yeah.
But so that was his thinking. He's wanted to write a book but make it an album. And what I really would like to do is, we were speaking earlier on before the program about recording spoken word pieces and having music. What I reckon my focus is probably going to be, once this new book comes out, I wanted to release it 420. But it's probably only going to come out end of this month, just because I need to have like a bit of a cooling off period. Like sometimes I write things and then I read them a month later and I'm like, oh shit, maybe not. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I know.
I'm like, maybe I was like really angry or something like that. And sometimes you're a little bit better a month later and you're like, actually, that wordplay fits or whatever. So it's going to take a little bit longer. When that's out, I think I'm just going to concentrate on doing lots of singles and lots of little music videos, and my strongest thing. And then maybe for the next project, although I'm busy doing a play that I'm busy doing right now.
What play is writing?
It is called Unnatural, and similar to Black Mirror. It's like a combination of 1984 and Brave New World and Black Mirror.
I remember you telling me about this.
Yeah, man.
You're taking it to Fringe, aren't you?
Yeah, dude. So I'm going to be from the 14th to the 18th of May in Brighton, and then from the 5th to the 14th of August in Edinburgh. And it's pretty much, I wake up, I've just gone into sign up through a company called Rest in Peace Incorporated, where you can sign up to VR and you can escape reality. And but you voluntarily go into this. In your mind, what you're going to be seeing is everything is great, and they make up a perfect partner for you, made out of everything you've ever Googled and searched and all that kind of jazz. And but as I'm about to go into it, the system goes wrong, and then I've got a time limit of like 23 minutes to really decide whether I want to unplug from this dystopian future I'm living in, where there's like refugees all over the place, everyone's buggered, AI is the master. Either I want to voluntarily unplug out of this, or whether reality is worth fighting for. And it's basically a monologue, and it's got 4 poems in it, and it just speaks about artificial intelligence, virtual reality, the ethics of it, but then also the character's family, and then what I ultimately end up doing in this world where is it natural or unnatural, just how far we go with technology and what we might do. And I've tried to make it as plausible as possible, but yeah, it's like 25 minutes long, more or less.
That was interesting.
And yeah, dude, that's the kind of stuff I'll be trying to do.
So once you've taught it at Fringe, are you gonna try and get it like performed at theatre?
For sure, dude. For sure, dude. So I've been looking at in Camden, there's a little theatre down there which I've already looked at. I just googled and it looks reasonably priced and stuff like that. There's obviously quite booked up in advance. What I'd like to do in between Brighton Fringe and the Scottish one is figure out obviously how I might want to change it up. But in all honesty, dude, and I don't know if I'll do this, but I'm actually thinking of turning it into a book, like a proper novel.
Cool. Yeah.
Just because when I started writing it, all of a sudden, you know what it's like sometimes when you've got a time limit with certain poems. Sometimes there's so much content that all of a sudden wants to flood out of you, and you just can't fit it into. You're only going to have 3 minutes. With this play, when I started writing it, and I got about a third of the way through, all of a sudden I was like, oh, but you can do this, and you can do this, and you can do this, and I started thinking of sick concepts. But you know, I'm only going to have a format of half an hour, just me on the stage, and you also don't want to get too technical and bore people, basically, which is very easy to do at a poetry night. You want to, I think, it's even for somebody who digs poetry, I think it's quite easy to get bored depending on the content.
Yeah. So and also the delivery.
Straight up, dude. If people are gonna speak like this and do whatever, but if you've got someone who's animated as you like, going up on stage, then their poetry can be half-assed. But if they believe in what they're saying and they're getting you sucked into the action, all of a sudden it makes a big difference. Yeah, that's why I'm trying to keep it as simple and straight to the point as possible, but then try to get my acting skills on, bro. See how that goes. But man, I'll happily come and do a touch base with you after that to let you know how it
also
goes.
check out the Courtyard Theatre in Shoreditch, I think. It's it's not far from Shoreditch.
Alright. I definitely have a look at that.
I performed there with my drama school when I was at Identity Drama School.
Okay.
But it's a really nice space. Really
man, I forgot you in St. Vibes. You even made that movie like about weed and all that.
Yeah, Cannabis is Illegal. Shout out to Courtney for that.
Is that online, bro?
It is online. It's on YouTube right now. If you go to YouTube, search Cannabis is Illegal, the movie, I believe.
Alright.
Should pop up as the first one.
Cannabis is illegal.
Yeah, illegal, yeah.
So apparently it is now legalized in the UK for medicinal purposes, but it's very hard to actually get a prescription for it, for them to actually say yes.
Because right now they're only concentrating on the people who are most needed most, like if you have epilepsy or something like that. Most of the serious conditions,
Parkinson's, I mean. Yeah. But I also heard somebody say the other day something quite interesting and worrying, good for weed smokers, not good for the general public or for the weed smokers, is that because of the lack of police, basically, they've been turning a blind eye over the last year to 2 years and lots of stuff, just because they're like, look, we ain't got much resources or much police. So the dude down the road there who's just busy smoking a J, we actually going to go after the person stabbing somebody else. Yeah. And so it's like their lack of bloody funding and that is only going to help the weed smoking community.
I know, but I mean, the police have actually put out statements about it anyway. It's like, I think I remember I saw something about it. Like, it's like, what is the point of just chasing down a stoner when like someone who's actually doing crime is down around the corner? Like, come on.
And this is something stoners have been saying forever. Is they've been saying, all I'm going to do is eat a load of food. That's the worst thing I'm going to do to myself. Is eat a load of food, watch some crappy TV, maybe
and pass out.
At most, the worst thing that has ever happened to me in my life when I've ever smoked weed is I've been awkward when I'm in like a social situation, and that's probably it, to be fair.
It's awkward because of me. It's not awkward because of other people.
Nobody else.
It's because of me and how I feel. And I feel like I'm out of place.
I'm out of place, and I'm overthinking this entirely.
Yeah, that's it.
And I'm not out of place whatsoever. And now everybody might think I'm weird because of how I'm thinking I'm out of place. And then all of a sudden, you're just going to go home and smoke a J. Well, that's that. I tried to be sociable. Don't hate me. Like I tried to, I made a good effort at it, but sometimes when you spend too much time getting isolated and and gaff there, then all of a sudden it's a different story. But yeah, I think that they're going to legalize that eventually, because especially
if we leave the EU and they're going to need that money.
Hey man, so imagine this. Imagine that, bro. Imagine this. All right.
I know that the UK are already the